Rav Glick a few weeks ago, we spoke about this idea, aber gewiss 100% that is keinem in the aufziehen, weil man kann nicht aufziehen in der Regel Achas. But there's two things. Number one is, I have trying. If we try, it's sicher du siyat in the Shmaya. But everybody can sicher zielleigen a kleiner Maschi. If it hinnet Maschi is, can werden ein große Sache. And as Rav Glick said, that the most important thing is to make this aware by alle Kehles. By Hasidische Kehles, Litvische Kehles. We just heard from somebody through it that Kosenberg Rebbe was involved. But I've the guy and noch guy in sein Warte Mamschach zu sagen, in andere haben, ob es hat Geld ist, dass man das machen muss priori, in sein zu sehen, als soll ja sein Geld, in Gebet jeder soll nicht da wegrein, wenn du in vergessen der Breakfast. But if I wegrein in episode 18. The roof's phone number is, everybody could take the phone number and write it down by them on the card. Please write down the phone numbers, the email. The roof works 24/7, even Shabbos. He doesn't answer phones on Shabbos, but if you speak to him on Shabbos, he works about it, has a very right, straight mind, as we heard. And I'm helping the Noam Hashem and Akeni, Imasi Deni Koyin Oleini, Imasi Deni Koyin Nei.
Thank you, Rav Katz. I'm going to close out by making a motion. We need to put this officially on the books. Rabbi Hechler, I want you to make the motion of Ramech. We're making a motion right now not to close the dialogue in the union of the OTD. We want to present a motion to support the efforts of Sharey Ezer in combating this situation. Second part of the motion, we're putting this part of the Igud HaRabbonim agenda, part of our platform, and we will try to put together, who spoke to Rabbi Blank, and with Rabbi Berkowitz, Rabbi Heffron, try to put together a task force to see how we could put the various tools. We heard about the IEP approach, we heard about various counseling approach. When somebody goes to Rav Glick for help, Rav Glick needs to have by his fingers, boom, I could call this number if the child in school that needs an IEP for special ed services, before the problem develops too much. If it's dealing with the older child, what resources out there handles the older children. So the motion is two things, not only to support the holy work of Rav Glick and his organization, but to see what we can do of putting all the resources together as a support mechanism. All in favor?
And those that are not raising their hands, I'm also raising my hands. Right?
I also want to mention an important resource for this, besides the Sharey Ezer and how Rabbi Glick explained so eloquently, and his Rebbetzin runs a special ed school with the name of Yesodei Bina, that deals with Rabbi Hech spoke about the IEPs. We have to sue the Board of Education with an advocate or a representative. Because let's face it, years ago back, a child said in a class, we called him a verstoppte Kopf, and the Rebbe didn't like what he did, gave him a Zetzen Pisk. But the Zetzen Pisk doesn't work if it's not a mechutzev. If the child had a problem sometimes, we didn't understand the ADD, whatever the situation is. A kid have a time on those Rebbeim, because the Rebbeim really meant well with the proof that they had an education. But today that we know better, and we're more educated with this, the seeds of our kids, we have to make sure the children should not face that situation. Igud HaRabbonim is known taking on such issues which are not controversial. It becomes controversial when people take their own personal fears, whether it be a shidduch, whether it be whatever it is, a mizrach vanta benkel, but it's main garnished. In 10 years from now, 20 years from now, there could be the main garnished. It was once a discussion, Rav Gershon took me to a meeting many years ago. And the meeting discussed a certain issue of pre-screening for medical situations. I'm not at liberty to discuss who was by the table. There were Choshev Yidden who said, we can't pre-screen for a medical condition, because if you pre-screen for a medical condition, it'll come out So as one Chushev Rav was sitting in the room, a Holocaust survivor, and said, the Imlik mit der Rabbanim heint, der lebt nicht heint this roof. Inlik mit der Rabbanim heint, we felt the Havas Yisrael in Rachmanis. If a doctor has to keep something confidential, and cannot discuss a medical condition, and cannot discuss a medical problem, how dare you not do pre-screening? It's Bikuach Nefesh. Kal v'chaimer over here. The more we live in denial with it, we call it a cup child, who sometimes, I'll give a name, I shouldn't say it. Rav Gertzlin was a mashkiach in Torah V'das. Einer from the Gresta Gedol Yisrael. And he was a mashkiach back in the 50s and 60s before Rav Wolfson. So they gave up on him. They said to us, if I stop the cup, the father gave a roof oichet, and they didn't pay attention to him. But Rav Gertzlin had himself the ability to prove reality wrong. Erika Harvit, and he became a Gadol B'Yisrael. So just because a child has in themselves, they have a minor in education, just because a child has in themselves what we call a block, an impediment, if you treat it correctly, like Rav Glick handles it, and other, like Brian Berkowitz is a practicing roof, the Mario Asher from a Grace's Shield in Queens, the Rockwood Park Jewish Center, is being a chaplain, Rativ Rasach mentioned, he'll say firsthand, as you work with the child and you work with him, you can solve the problem. That's the first hand. But the second hand is we have an achrayus, is the falsha can beat them away. Do that pre-screening. Let's come together with ideas. Abe the Shashar Rachmun is open the Pesach Abisola. You never know where this can go. And this discussion will continue. I believe, Rabbi Class, as Presidium Chair, I can present to you, we have a unanimous resolution to search what we can explore. We will be issuing a press release. I will say for the record, the name is Rabbi Aron Glick, and Rabbi Bais Medrash Kamenitz Bais Medrash, Sharey Ezer. His telephone number is 347-865-1966. 347-865-1966. And the email is aglick, A-G-L-I-C-K, aglick, 1051, aglick1051 at gmail.com.
Please introduce everybody, all the Rabbonim here, so the oil advice wherever it is. We have Rabbonim here from the OU, which is a member of the Igud HaRabbonim. Rabbi Hecht is here. What's Rabbi Hecht do? Rabbi Hecht
is Rabbi Hecht. I can say it for the record, even though he's not looking for it, from the Lamed Vav Tzadikim. He runs a shul in Queens, Makar V'Sach Eden. I know his father is a Grace Aruva Talmud Chacham. He also runs the JCC, the Jewish Community Center of Canarsie. There's a Yid, forget Canarsie, a Yid all over the city of New York. That's the quiet man who helps them.
Rabbi Weisfeld we have here.
From the Borough Park Center, Rabbi Weisfeld. Pleasure to have you, Rabbi.
Moshe Mandela.
A chashiv a paisik, Rabbi Mandel. Everybody knows Rabbi Mandel. Rabbi Lichtenstein, Rabbi Jungreis, Bible Jungreis, Rabbi Stone, Rabbi Yehuda Blank, Rabbi Solomon, Rabbi Blank. Again, he doesn't want me to say it. There's a Musmach at Talmud Muvach for Moshe Feinstein, Rav David Feinstein, a Grace at Talmud Chacham, a paisik. He served Bekuvid for many years. I call it Bekuvid because we look for Kiddush Hashem. And I told Rav Reuven that Rav Reuven Feinstein Shlita, we appointed him to be the chaplaincy director and external affairs. He said, you're going to make a Kiddush Hashem, a Klal Yisrael needs right now. You need Hamish. One of the goals of the Igud HaRabbonim always was to have the Rabbonim know how to give drushes and be Rabbonim and act professional. Why retreat and give over the Rabbonis to people which might not have the same sheet as we have? The Haimish Yeshiva Bachurim can say Rabbonim Oichet, Mitzaychel. And Rabbi Blank served with distinction and honor as a New York City housing police chaplain prior to the merge. He served after that with several Jewish organizations. And currently we're lucky to have him. We're fortunate to have him as the director of chaplaincy and external affairs. Rav Yosef Solomon, Vachaber Svarim, I call my Rebbe, Rav Yaakov Klaas, who most probably is one of the biggest Paiskim and Marbise Torah in the world. The thousands of Divrei Torah and Halachic Shilas and Daf Yomi that Yidden read the whole world all over the place. You could be in your Huppets and you pick up the Jewish press and you have the Daf Yomi explained to you in Shilas for Shabbos. Exactly Klal Yisrael. Ramay Shawina was a Paisik of Igud HaRabbonim, and he handled the kashrus. Avade, the Mora da Asr, unser Chushe v'chaver, Hagoyin Rabbi Aron Glick.
Which is becoming a member, by the way, by us, Mitzvah Shem.
Yay, the roof is a member, whether they know it or not. We like a mag, the Rabbunim belong with Rabbunim.
Let's introduce Rabbi Pollack. Rabbi Pollack, what's your...
Chaim Meyer Pollack,
A personal friend with Rabbi.
we call the Chief of Staff, this is the title, Chief of Staff, Chief Yoyitz.
Reb Chesky Blau.
Rav Chesky Blau, gewaltige Asken, we're very young, it's here, the Rabbonim, we're very honored to have you. Rav Yoel Aaron Reich,
From Toivadas.
more than Tarvadas, the Mazaruf, and Oichel from Besifta Tarvadas.
A Glanz von Toivadas.
Avade,
Then we have
Avade.
Steinberg hat man du.
Ja, Chushev of Steinberg.
En Rabbi Tab, dat men es wird Rabbi Tab, aber nicht so Chush wie
Rabbi Tabe, Ezer,
Item. No, the other one, Rabbi
Oh,
Tab.
I had to admit, he's a special ed.
Special ed teacher.
which is Ratifit Yidin.
Mumche with Bochum and
Aber Rufe sei der Shimshon.
Rav Reuven Shimshon Taub.
No,
Rabbi
he's the Ruf of Besmeders
Moldovit
there.
Tau.
Shmuel, yeah.
We invite these two Ingelat to become members by us, Mitzvah Shem.
Put him on the Rishima, that's all the members.
Shimshon.
Jerry Shimshon. This is from the Shimshon?
Shimshon.
Oh, the Sefer. Then we have Rav Moshe Shmerler. We have Rav David Tolbeck, the Goin. Mike Goin, the Gross Talmud Chacham. Also Rav Hartstein was over here. Rabbi Hartstein was here?
Barber.
Ben Barber, and then we had Rabbi Silver from the...
Rabbi Yeruchim Silber, Alta member from Aguda. Okay, we should do one thing to finish up.
I just want to say, I want to add one thing. I had two Eineklich, one was my son, one my daughter, who were diagnosed very early to be on the autism spectrum. They were both Zeicher that they were in Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim, that almost all my Eineklich have been in the various Chavetz Chaims. The Chavetz Chaim on East 35th Street, between K&L, and the yeshiva allowed seats into the classroom. The Rebbe allowed another person to be in the classroom with him. These two children, one now is in Bais Medrash, and the other one almost, and they are literally, as I've been sagt in Yiddish, they are steiging away. And by the way, they're very good in English, getting the highest marks. So these are kids who would have been in ganzen Verleiren, would it not have been that the parents had a hakara and the yeshiva had the Ezer, and Baruch Hashem. So we see that we can do little things. Sometimes it's not that nicht als the Kind is a schlechte Kind, nicht kein schlechte Kind. Se geht nicht rein. He's wired differently. That's what
he said, Rabbi.
Yeah, totally wired differently, and we have to accommodate it.
That yeshiva just set up an interactive program where kids can learn in an informal setting. They think it's a gym, and it's not. It's beautiful. They just set it up.
Yeah, they set it up.
I know the donors.
I have to give them a lot of credit.
But since you're standing here, we're going to ask right now before we bench that all the Choshev Rabbanim should come together for a group picture.
Oh, yeah, picture.
Let's move some chairs in the front. If we make sure everybody gets into the picture. Rav Glick, Rav Pollack, Rav Blau, come around. Look, the Aron Glick.
Ran out of battery.
No, back around. The television said back around.
Put some chairs in the front here. We'll put some chairs, Rav Katz.
Yeah.
Put in the front, some chairs in the front.
It ran out of battery. Hold the phone.
Here.
Just replacing your battery.
No, don't worry.
Yes.
I was in Washington. I saw how much money.
Ran out of battery.
I'll tell you what, take a few pictures and we'll put it together after put it together.
Berkowitz. Come around and put you over here. Well, no, we will put chairs